Hello guys and girls, welcome to Board Now's Cult Television Reviews, and on this video I will be reviewing the first episode of Undone. It's a new Amazon Prime series. It's by the creator of BoJack Horseman, which is quite a big series for some of you, and it's a new, as I said, Amazon Prime, and it's just gone up today, so on the Friday. So I'm going to be giving my thoughts on the opening episode, which is called Crash. So I'll set up the style of the show and also the sort of the plot setup as well. I should say we've got the lead character is Rosa, and she's played by Salazer. Sorry, Amma's the lead character. I'm not off to a good start. Amma's the lead character. She's played by Rosa Salazer, who people know as the lead from Alita Battle Angel recently, and she was very good in that too. We've got her sister Becca, played by Angelinque Cabral, I'll go with. And we also have a more familiar name in Bob Odenkirk. He is playing the voice and playing her father. So the setup is then the father has passed away, and you've got the two sisters, as I said, Alma and Becca. Very different characters. So you have Becca, who essentially is engaged to be married, and it's in the run-up to the marriage, and seemingly she's happy with her life, although there's quite a bit of banter in the episode with the sisters that certainly suggests, from Amma's point of view, then the guy's really dull, and then the marriage is no good for her sister. At the same time, Amma is the older sister and feels that her life is going nowhere. It's all boredom. It's all very random. You get this sort of commentary about her sleeping next to the same guy every night. Going to the supermarket, there's a funny little lines about choosing between different beans being the most boring subject ever. So she's very much put out by modern life, by the repetition of it. And really what we get from her in this episode is a very anti kind of traditional kind of critique, where she's very against the sort of modern ways or the tradition, and you go out and meet someone, you settle down, get married, all the rest of it. She's just very cynical about that way of life, and is very rebellious, very sort of sarcastic, and cynical of the modern world, if you like. The as I said, the repetition of it, and the just the meaningless of it in some respects. So we get essentially then she isn't happy with her life, and obviously the passing of the father has caused this big void in the family. She comes from sort of a traditional Mexican background, which I think her sister is kind of more supportive of, more in those traditions. But Amma as is rebelling against that, is very anti that in a way. So there's tension on that side of things as well. But as I said, the opening episode is called Crash, so we build up to this crash which Amma has, which we see in the opening, and then it builds up to that. And essentially we're getting into some sort of fantasy time travel type plot, where she starts seeing visions of her dead father, as I said, played by Bob Odenkirk, and she's going to travel through time from there. But the first episode anyway, is a lot of setup, and the whole series is up now on Amazon Prime. So and they're in 22-minute chunks as well, so it's very easy to watch quite quickly. So I'll talk a little bit about the style. It's rotoscope animated style, which you don't see very often, but you have seen in films. If you've seen films such as A Scanner Darkly, for example, that's the style they use. It's very different from a lot of animation you'll see and a lot of traditional animation. It's very lifelike, but in a very dreamy, eerie sort of way. And the way they do it is, and the actors literally, it captures the actors' like body movement and sort of facial expressions. So in many ways, it is very lifelike, but still in this very dreamy, distorted, um, peculiar way because it captures them as almost like lifelike paintings. It has this very watercolory type feel to the color schemes. So sort of a mix of very dense, dark sort of colors. So not as bright as a lot of animations you'll see. So, and I think what happens in this episode, and it's not really a criticism, I think it's just the way it is I think a lot of the times when they're just the characters in a bar, because you get the bar scenes with the two sisters, is that when it's just regular scenes like that, it does throw you back if you're not used to the animation, and it does look very sort of odd. Whereas I think as we get more into the surreal elements of the plot and the kind of time travel, then the animation style will feel more natural and you get more used to as it moves along. But yeah, it's just funny how it makes even the most regular like sequence look quite trippy and surreal, and it definitely has that eerie feel. And I think there's a lot of good satire in this show, or in the first episode, a lot of good social commentary. And I like the dynamic with the daughters, the sisters, Amma and Becca, and their sort of tension. And I think what I like is the fact that you're not necessarily going to be on Amma's side. It's not that cut and dry. I think there's a lot of sympathies with what she thinks. But I mean, at one point in this episode, she's kind of being down on her boyfriend, and he seems like a laid back, quite cool guy who the family like. At one point, they go to a party, and it's like the party to kind of celebrate the engagement sort of thing, and they're all sort of there, and the boyfriend's very laid back, very casual, but I think this is just part of Anna's anxiety. Then when she sees her sister getting married, and she's not, she sees the guy as a bit of a phony, as a bit of a fake. He talks about indigenous tribes. Sorry, had a mental breakdown there and stuff, and she sees that as very forced, very phony, and so she sees what she considers to be a mistake from her sister by marrying this guy. So she builds that up in her mind and thinks, well, could this be my future as well if I stay with this guy? So she breaks up with him, which seems very sort of spare of the moment, and it's a very unusual. I mean, in a way, breaking up with a guy because it's not working out is totally normal, but it's just this kind of anxiety that builds in her. And I think this works very well, where you get this very deadpan kind of character who's in a state of a daze, in a way, of disillusion. And I think this is where the animation works really well. It really captures those deadpan, sort of glazed over sort of eyes, and the delivery of the dialogue is in that sort of mould. Where it's very aloof, very whatever. And I think she's just that sort of character which plays off well with the daughter. But when they're in the bar discussing it and what have you, I think her daughter actually comes. So I keep saying that's terrible. Her sister, sorry, her sister Becca keeps saying quite sensible things. I think she's quite reasonable and level-headed about Becca, Emma's, situation and her situation. I mean, at one point she tries to put it in perspective and just says, well, maybe you feel bad because your younger sister's getting married before you. Which I don't necessarily agree is a point, but she also, she's really supportive of Emma, where she's kind of like, you know, you're wasting your life. You're very bright and intelligent. Because she's working in a nursery or a daycare centre. And Becca sort of says to her, you should go ahead and do that MA you were planning on doing and really pushing forward with life. You've got a lot of talent, a lot of intelligence, and a lot of potential. And so I think it is balanced in that way. It doesn't just. I think a lot of shows would just go with the straightforward point of view because we sort of see the world from Emma's perspective, really. So I think a lot of shows would just fall down on her side because it's convenient for the narrative, and that everyone else would be kind of just way off the mark, very, very kind of naive or cynical, whatever you want to say. But this is very balanced. I think Becca comes across very well. And I mean, whether she's making a mistake with this guy is up for debate. And I mean, what actually happens near the end of the episode, which causes the sort of, well, it leads up to the crash, is then they're in the bar and there's this cute sort of bartender and he comes over and serves them, and obviously they start flirting, and we see throughout the episode, because there's a previous bar scene, then Emma is a bit heavy on the drink, so they just kick back. I think because she's just split up with the boyfriend, they just kick back and have a great night, start drinking, but they also randomly go home with the bartender. So back to one of their houses, and they're sort of flirting and drinking and playing different games. And I think what we see is Emma really forcing her kind of way of thinking onto Becca, because she has this very carefully free, cynical way of going through life. So, and I think this could grate on you with Emma if we got too much of it, because she has this very immature sort of side where they're playing a drinking game and she kind of dares her sister to kiss the other guy. And Becca kind of, because she's attracted to him, but she kind of says, I would like to, but I can't. And, Emma pushes it and says, it's only a game, it's one stupid kiss. And then she kisses him one time, and it's a really quick kiss, but then Emma shames Becca into doing a proper kiss, if you like, because that was really weak and lame. And she does, and it goes further. They have a longer kiss, and that's when Emma goes off into the bathroom and sort of throws up, literally. So it cuts to the next day when they're at the church for a service which the boyfriend is giving. And that's when they really have a fallout, because Becca's really upset. And Emma's obviously saying quite reasonably, I didn't force you to do whatever you did with the guy. But, Becca's upset because it's like, you forced this on me sort of thing. I've got a good thing going with with the guy I'm about to marry. And you really forced these things on me and tried to ruin it. And so they get into a whole fight, and that nicely transitions into the crash itself. So Emma storms off, and she's really upset. So you get this quick cut where there's a lot of rage, and she ends up crashing her car, and that's obviously the setup for the rest of the show. And I think what I'll say is I think Amma, although at times she can maybe come off as quite annoying, I think because of the way the show's going to play out, I think that will improve, because I think the whole point is she starts off in this one place and then she's going to go on this journey. She's going to obviously have visions of her father, and changes are going to happen. So I think it's almost that point where they deliberately set her up as one thing at the start, but then she's going to have these radical experiences that really change her. So I think that's going to be part of the point, possibly. And I really love the final shot where she sees the vision of her dad for the first time. It has this really eerie sort of feel to it, and a lot of the scenes have a really eerie sort of uneasy feel, which I like, and quite trippy and surreal at times, even the most basic sort of scenes. So yeah, pretty enjoyable first episode. I thought there was some interesting character interactions, and it's a nice little conceit, and it's going to be quite condensed because, as I said, 22 minutes each episode, and about 10 episodes each, so I'll get through these quite quickly and probably do another one later on today. But that's episode 1 of The Undone. It's on Amazon Prime, which so a lot of people have access to it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, but I'll be back with more soon. Goodbye.